Are the Jaguars ready to beat the Texans? And what do you think of the Colts quarterback decision? It's the AFC South preview from the Shots and Tenier NFL podcast for Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. We're doing it a day early today so we can get our man Rivers McCown on to talk about the wonderful world of the AFC South. That is the division that we are previewing today. I am Aaron Schatz. You know me as that DVOA guy from FTN Fantasy. He is Mike Tenier. You know him from his Substack at miketenier.substack.com. And of course, if you are watching us live, which we do during the season at 11 a.m. Eastern on Mondays and Thursdays, you can make comments and ask questions on the YouTube, and we will take them. So AFC South, the surprise here is this is one of our surprises that we ended up with the Jaguars as our narrow favorite in this division. In the last simulation I did that includes a few post-book changes, we had the Jaguars winning it 42% of the time and the Texans 35% of the time. So pretty even, with the Colts at 14 and the Titans at 9. And we'll get into the Colts quarterback decision in a little bit, but the Colts quarterback decision does not really change these projections. One thing I do want to point out before we take the team by team and we'll go alphabetically, I've been talking a lot about the Commanders and the Eagles, and one of the things I keep emphasizing is the difference in their schedules. Mm-hmm. The same thing applies in this division. The three games that are different between Houston and Jacksonville, Houston plays Tampa Bay, Buffalo, and Baltimore, where Jacksonville plays Carolina, the Jets, and Cincinnati.
That's a difference.
That's a big difference. I mean, obviously, the Cincinnati offense is very strong, but the Cincinnati defense looks lousy, and the Jets look like a trade wreck. And the Panthers, people like more than our projections like them, but I think everyone agrees are probably not as good as the Bucs.
Right. The good news is the Texans have a great record against the Ravens, lifetime. So I'm sure that'll work out well for everybody.
Like 2-16 or something like that. Like if you take the Bengals and the Buccaneers, you say, okay, we'll cancel those out as similar. Then you've got the Ravens and the Bills against the Panthers and the Jets.
Yeah. And
that seems like a 2-0 versus an 0-2 right there. That could make the difference. Jaguars are plus 300 to win this division.
And I'm kind of riding on this one. And I know that, when I did the projections, Rivers was kind of surprised before we wrote the chapters that the Jacksonville was so high and Indianapolis was so low. And the Houston thing is also like Philadelphia in that it's the same. Wow, your defense was so good last year. Defense is harder to predict than offense. Therefore, all defenses are projected to regress. Therefore, you're not projected to be as strong overall. Obviously, when it comes to the personnel, the Houston defense still looks stellar. Unlike the Philadelphia defense, they didn't really lose guys. I mean, Eric Murray, who cares, right?
Very sad. Very sad. Devastating loss.
So, I mean, I feel like as much as the Eagles fans are like, look at the youth, I feel like the Texans are more likely to keep the defense going because it's the same guys as last year, all the same stars as last year.
Yeah, as a Texans fan, revealing my bias in advance. As a Texans fan, whenever somebody from the 2021 or 22 Texans leaves, I'm just like, that's a real shame. You really, really, really want to remember those days. So goodbye, Eric Murray. God bless.
You've got the edges and you've got the corners on defense, and they're there and they're excellent. My question is, what's the offensive line looking at? I've tried to write about it a little bit. You've seen more of it. You've heard more of it. What's going on there in the main issue for the Texans?
I mean, the main issue right now is that it looks like Cam Robinson, who they paid in the offseason, might just be a bench guy right now. They're going to start, looks like the rookie Ursary at left tackle, Titus Howard at right tackle. You got the waiver claim, Jake Andrews at center. So that's interesting. Just a Patriots guy from Cole Popovich's Patriots tenure. So it looks like there's just going to be a lot of upheaval on this line. You got Laken Tomlinson there. Like it's like 4 new starters, Howard moving into a new position, and I kind of don't think it matters that much. compared to the scheme change. I really don't.
I will say, first of all, I'm going to ask you about the scheme change in a second. Every time we look at any kind of charting stats or ESPN's win block rates, Jarrett Patterson looks reasonable. So why is he losing a job?
He doesn't look reasonable enough to the Texans, apparently. I don't know. It's interesting to me as well. And it's one of those things where they kind of shuffled the line in the Chiefs playoff game to put Shaq Mason back in, even though Shaq Mason had a terrible year. And you kind of wonder what exactly they're looking at from the front office standpoint of, oh, well, this is the guy you want to start. It turns out to be like a versatility thing. They always repeat that best five thing, which works for the Packers, right? The Packers do that all the time, works out well for them. Right. The Texans, I don't know what they're evaluating there.
Right. It's not like Blake Fisher is like gaining a lot from moving from position to position, or Juice Scruggs. They're not turning into versatile players. They're just getting worse.
Right. They're playing poorly in a different position.
What is the scheme change? What are they moving towards?
Well, I think if you looked at their second preseason game, they actually played the starters for a couple series. Everything looked a lot easier. Like in the passing game, last year's offensive line problems, a lot of it came down to it's third and long. A blitz is coming. Will we pick it? We will not pick it. Okay, well, that's the end of that. And I think they looked a lot better this year. They had a 4th and 4 on, like the goal line or so, where Nico Collins just gets wide open. And I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time in the regular season, but it looked a lot easier just in what we saw in limited preseason play. And that's kind of been the tenor of camp too.
Well, Nico Collins is good. I mean, the wide receivers are good. The wide receivers are good enough that they were able to just be like, yeah, we don't need John Mechie anymore. I guess the Super Bowl champions could use him. Our wide receivers must be good if we're sending receivers off to Philadelphia.
Mechie has had an interesting career where he had the melanoma in his first season. So I don't know if he'd ever really bounce back from that. And
right.
I think his career high in receiving yards is like 50 or something. Like it's not.
Oh, it's a buy low. I mean,
he's not been a great shakes or anything, but I hope he does pan out for the Eagles. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it sounds like the Eagles can never have too many like 2019 Alabama Crimson Tide guys on offense and 2021 Georgia guys on defense. It looked like more constricted formations. One thing I saw, and I don't remember back to the bad old days of the last regime, but you get the tight ends, you get more 2 tight end, you get the receivers closer to the line of scrimmage. You can do a few things in terms of being able to chip, be able to slow down the pass rush. I think that might be one of the things that they're looking to do this year.
Right, and they also have more of a fullback lead. Last year, they kind of got away from that with Andrew Beck leaving. 2023 had a lot of fullback. So I think now they've got Jakob Johnson in. British Brooks has a chance to maybe win that role too. And I think one of them is going to be on the field more often. You'll see more Shanahan-style sort of fullback usage, play action passing, from the old days, and then kind of marry that to more of what McVay's been doing recently with the Rams.
We know the quarterback is good and the receivers seem talented. So if the offensive line can get its act together and be below average instead of horrific, like we may be underselling this offense, in which case we're underselling the entire Texans team and maybe they win the division again.
I mean, I certainly think that they've got a good chance to do so. I typically tend to come to fandom in like a pessimistic way. So this feels really weird for me. It feels really weird to go out on a limb and be like, I think they're going to be okay. But I do think with the schematic change, I think C.J. Stroud's obviously great already, and running back could be a problem. I think running back could be a problem right now, but other than that, I don't really see a lot that's super concerning. If they get into obvious pass situations, they will get crushed. That's how it goes. So it all relies on staying on schedule.
It's interesting because Nick Chubb was always a guy who, anytime we tried to do any metrics that separate the running back from the line, always comes out stellar. Like the next gen stats, expected yards, rushing over expected yards, except that then he had a big injury and he's 2 years older now. And so what happens? I mean, is he as good as Mixon at this point? And if not, how much of a loss is Mixon and how long is Mixon out for?
I think Mixon's potentially a pretty big loss. Like he played really well last year, I thought, and it kind of gets obscured a little bit in the blocking and how often he was hit in the backfield. But when he got into some open space, he looked really nice. He ground out a couple of games, the Chargers game in the playoffs, big Jaguars game toward the end of the season. So, like, I really think if he is out for a long time, that's a big loss. I think right now they're looking at he might miss week 1. Like he might miss week 2.
Oh, it's just that's it. It's not like 2 months or anything.
Right. I think right now what we've got is September probably is a reasonable comeback time. And you say that, who knows? We're not doctors. We don't follow this stuff. I tend to have a pessimistic outlook on anything the Texans point out with injuries because it always winds up worse than it's supposed to be. But I do think that Mixon will make it back by the end of September.
It's not one of those hush-hush, who knows Packers type injuries.
Not yet.
Well, what McCaffrey went through last year, where it was like, by the way, McCaffrey has an injury. Oh, by the way, McCaffrey's injury is bad. Oh, by the way, McCaffrey's injury is going to Germany for some kind of special treatment. Oh my God, McCaffrey's out for 2 months. Like,
right.
It was like gradually, like every time they would say something about it, it would get worse and worse and worse. And Mixon's not apparently like
that. It is getting worse and worse, but it's gone from like, oh, he'll probably be back at the start of training camp. Oh, he's not going to make training camp, but maybe like the preseason. Oh no, maybe not. But like it's getting worse, but slower.
All right, let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts going in alphabetical order. Daniel Jones, hey. Daniel Jones wins the quarterback job. I listened a little bit to Mina Kimes with Ben Solak, and they were talking about the idea that Daniel Jones represents a higher floor but a lower ceiling than Anthony Richardson. Yeah. And what on earth does that get the Colts? If they have a higher floor, they go 7-10 or 8-9. Like, does that save anybody's job? I feel like Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard are just dead men walking, and this team is just waiting to go 7-10 so everyone can get fired and they can draft another quarterback.
I think Steichen's definitely trying to save his job with this one because the way he pointed it out in his presser the other day too. Somebody asked him, James Boyd of The Athletic asked him, oh, well, is there a chance that Richardson could get the job back? Or is this kind of like, what's his future in Indianapolis look like? He's like, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. so I guess that says enough about that, right?
They are screaming at us. They've been screaming at us for over a year. There's no trust in Richardson.
Yes.
They lost trust in him when he got hurt. They lost trust when he benched himself. They've lost trust with him when he was completing 50% maybe of his passes. They went out and got Daniel Jones. Richardson wound up getting hurt in camp, then comes back, gets hurt in a preseason game, can't separate himself. Whatever's going on inside the headquarters there, they do not trust this young man. We can talk about ceilings and things like that. If he day-to-day is out there and the coaches are like, we're done with this kid, then there's no ceiling.
Mike Sando's Tears article, where he talks to people around the league for The Athletic, people around the league were like, yeah, Richardson's toast. It's never going to happen.
Right.
So,
right.
You can see this coming the second they signed Jones too, because the first words out of Steichen's mouth were like, we want some more consistency in this room. Okay, well, I guess that's not what Anthony Richardson is or ever will be. So I guess that's over.
Right. Yeah. Todd Singer says, as a Colts fan, I'm disappointed Richardson couldn't win the job, but I get that Steichen needs to pick the quarterback who's playing better right now because you don't want to lose the locker room.
And it sounds Quentin Nelson doesn't like this move. I don't think Quentin Nelson likes his career right now. But another thing, and I talked about this with Lombardo yesterday on the other podcast I'm on, it's like you could see last year guys like Michael Pittman at the end of their routes coming up like, when Richardson was out there. Like, I know I'm not getting the ball. I know he didn't even see me. He doesn't know where the second reads. You can see things like that. There are veterans in there who said, please give me a guy who understands at least the basics of this offense and will do the things he's supposed to do rather than playing hero ball over.
I think this is good for Pittman. I think this is good for Josh Downs. I think this is good for Tyler Warren. I think this is terrible for Alec Pierce.
Yes. we ran a stat about that in the book too, where Pierce is like the preeminent deep receiver, not named George Pickens of anybody from last year, and then Daniel Jones just can't throw deep. So, sorry, Alec Pierce. Hope you enjoy free agency.
Maybe he can Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton always got like 1 or 2 deep balls a month from Daniel Jones. He can Slayton it up here. But overall, it's just bad for the Colts. I mean, yeah, from fantasy standpoint, it's like, well, Pittman and Warren will get their dink and dunk. This Colts team is maxed. This is a dead man walking.
Yeah,
team.
there's questions about the offensive line, I think, because Will
Yeah.
Freeze and Ryan Kelly are gone. I mean, Freeze was gone for most of last year anyway, but Ryan Kelly is gone, and guys like Bortolini are in now, and it just, this team just feels very meh. They feel very beige.
I definitely felt stronger about them before I wrote the chapter. Like just my internal instincts were like, okay, well, Steichen's still pretty good offensive mind, and now we've got Tyler Warren in here. I think they can make some hay on that. And then you look at the numbers, you look at the last couple of years, you look at what our projections are, you look at Daniel Jones's numbers, and you're like, oh well, I mean, being the 25th best team isn't the worst thing, right?
No, it's literally not the worst thing.
That's right.
32nd would literally be the worst thing.
You
Just
could
stacking
be
it.
32nd with the New Orleans Saints cap situation, right?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Houston Stressens recognizes your hat, by the way.
Go
Corpus
Hooks.
Christi Hooks, yes.
Hooks. Go Hooks.
Yeah, he also says, I think the Colts will be the worst team in the division. The offensive line is not what it used to be. There's not a ton of talent on defense. Quarterback spot is bad. Just good wide receivers and Tyler. I think he means Tyler, not Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor. I'm
Jonathan
thinking
Taylor.
Tyler Warren. Okay, yes,
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's still good.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor, the new Saquon Barkley, forced to labor for Daniel Jones.
Raymond is hurt at left tackle. Braden Jones, is that his name, at right tackle, is hurt right now. So they also have injuries on the offensive line at the tackle positions. Just not a great vibe overall.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our prohibitive favorite. Not really prohibitive. Slight. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who I know this is not something you often say about the Jaguars. I think that this is the most interesting team in the NFL this year. And that is 90% Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And 10% can Liam Cohen unlock the talent from Trevor Lawrence. But it's mostly Travis Hunter. The Travis Hunter thing is the most interesting thing in the NFL this year.
I'm intrigued. I don't know if I'm 90% of the interest in the most interesting team intrigue, but I'm intrigued by Travis Hunter. I like what I've seen so far.
And they both go hand in hand too, because Hunter on offense could unlock a lot of what would make Lawrence better too.
I mean, Thomas and Hunter should be a great pair of receivers.
Should, yeah.
And you've got this screen-heavy offense that Liam Cohen's putting in. Looks like Bigsby is going to be more involved in the passing game, probably take away ETN's sort of nominal 1A, 1B running back situation. My problem and my worry with the Jaguars, I'm kind of on board with them winning the division, except they went out there with the starters. Did you guys see their run with the starters this week where they get to the red zone and then somebody steps on Trevor Lawrence's ankle and he trips, falls, and fumbles? And it's like, this is the same Jaguars.
Never seen that before. Never seen that before. Lawrence has never done this before.
And my thought was, that was the kind of thing Doug Peterson didn't like practicing very much. He never saw practice, that he couldn't make a half hour shorter if he could find a way. So guys step on each other's feet. Now you got a new coach. They should be sharper. Again, it's one rep in preseason, but it's like, come on, guys, show me the thing that shows me that you've solved this particular problem.
I mean, honestly, the biggest thing standing in the way of the Jaguars winning the division, I think, is if we're wrong about the Texans and their offense improves, and then the Texans aren't going 9-8, they're going 11-6, and then they're winning the division.
I think the lines are important too here. The offensive line for the Jaguars, they brought in some guys, but it's like Robert Hainsey. It's
Macari. Macari's good, but I think what makes Macari good is partly the flexibility, and if he's a starter, the flexibility doesn't matter.
Right, and then on the defensive line, you've got Hines Allen, you got Trayvon Walker, and then you've got in the middle, Eric Armstead's back is already injured. They just traded for Kalen Saunders. They don't have a lot there that's like, oh, we're going to stop this run. And great pass rush. Can you get to it? That's the question on defense.
Thordane says, my only question about the Jaguars is, will Trevor Lawrence ever actually take the next step? The thing is, Trevor Lawrence took the next step in 2022 he then fell back off the step. That's the weird thing about the whole Trevor Lawrence deal, is that at one point he did take a big next step.
He took the step, an offensive lineman then stepped on his leg, and it was over.
and it just happened again in the preseason. But yeah, he's coming off of injuries. There was just the lack of fit and finish on that offense. And this is where Cohen comes in, where it's so short pass oriented, where you create so many yak opportunities. Is that going to be a value added for Lawrence?
And yeah, we looked at them last season for his player comment, and they, they had negative DR on passes beyond the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
You add in, Baker Mayfield's old coach, all those screens from last year, you can definitely see the easy yards piling up. And that's what this team needed last year. They were pretty good throwing deep and throwing in the medium, but throwing short, they had nothing.
Anything that was supposed to be easy was like the hardest damn thing in the world for that team, honestly. Yes.
It's interesting.
Short yardage. Yeah, go on, Aaron. Sorry.
I was going to say, you think maybe see more tight end, but it's not like Liam Cohen used a ton of tight end in Tampa Bay. So, yeah, more running backs.
Otten was good, but Otten wound up playing wide receiver a lot when Godwin was hurt. They started splitting him out, and they got Brendan Strange.
Yeah, Strange was popping in game 2 preseason. So
yes,
they kind of talked him up a little bit before they started signing guys, before they brought in Hunter. Obviously, we don't know what Hunter will be yet, so I think it's possible, like on the table, that Strange could be like a relevant tight end in fantasy. But he looked a lot better down the stretch, and when they targeted him last year, when Ingram was out, he didn't look that bad.
If you don't like if you're scared about the Texans but do like the Jaguars to make the playoffs, Jaguars are plus 180. Okay. So that would insulate you for they get easy schedule.
A wild card maybe with that schedule.
Exactly. They can get a wild card if the Texans get their act together and run away with stuff.
It's the number 28 schedule by average DVOA of opponent. So that's the easiest schedule in the division. Texans are 13, Colts 20, Titans 23.
Okay.
Yeah. And Houston Stresson says it's Trevor Lawrence's last chance to prove he's not a quarterback that gets his head coaches fired. I think actually what's interesting is if Liam Cohen doesn't unlock Trevor Lawrence, they're sort of stuck.
Yeah.
Because you don't fire a coach after 1 year. Right. And Lawrence is getting paid so much, you don't really replace him. Mm-hmm. So if they go like 8-9, they just run it back the next year with everybody. I can't imagine that there are big changes. They just sort of are stuck.
Yeah, not to go into deep contract lore, but I think the way his is structured is that they can trade him in 27 and not take too bad of a hit. But before that, it's like we are stuck with this. So this is at least a 2-year experiment.
Yeah, so it better work, but we think it kind of will. Yeah, with the help of Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. The big news for the Titans, new kicker and punter.
Hecker and Sly.
Let's
Hecker
go.
And Sly.
Now, I've heard rumors that they took a quarterback number 1 overall in the draft, but there's not a lot of discussion of this.
he got into a fight with Jeffrey Simmons, which basically means that he was stepped onto a field somewhere in Tennessee at some point in his life.
I mean, the interesting thing about Cam Ward's offseason is that documenting it, while it's like all good stuff, it's boring good stuff. Like, yeah, he comes in early to meet with his receivers. Yeah, he comes the last one on the field. Yeah, he's learning from Callahan here. He made a mistake in training camp here, but he fixed it there. And like all this is good stuff. It's all interesting, but it just drones on and on after 4 months. And you're like, can we see something?
Uninteresting for a number 1 overall pick.
He's super grindery. He is the whole reputation is a super grindery guy. He shows up 10 hours before the preseason game and sits and watch like a Netflix series until the coaches show up and goofy stuff like that, and gets into sparring matches and all positive. But like, that's the personality.
Yeah. I mean, we're stuck here with the same thing that goes for any team with a rookie quarterback over the last couple of years, which is it's likely they will be bad, but there is the possibility that he's really good.
And it raises all the ceilings and all the floors.
And everything gets better. And even though the wide receivers are not exciting, I mean, an older Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson, and people got mad at me. I had Titans fans get mad at me because in an ESPN article, I said, maybe he finds Xavier Restrepo. And they were like, But this team took 2 fourth-round wide receivers. Why didn't you mention them? Because Xavier Restrepo is slightly more interesting than Alec Ayomanor. Like, the fact that he played with Ward in college is a little interesting, and the fact that he's an undrafted free agent is a little interesting. It's
Tamara Dike can't even get on the podium on that one. Wow, rough.
Yeah. Well, I like Alec Ayomanor because I like saying Alec. What an interesting name, Alec Ayomanor. All right.
It wasn't the ESPN article that I was more concerned about actually came out yesterday. The headline for this one was "Coaching the number 1 pick at QB isn't as easy as you think," and it had a big dose of Callahan. And I'm just like, you were 3-14 last year. Do we need the bar to be like literally on the floor at this point? Like, come on.
The man learned from his time at the Bengals. Set the expectations as low as possible. Complain about everything.
If this team goes 3-14 again, that's a real problem because they did add a good amount of stuff. And I mean, First of all, Ward, even if Ward is bad, like Caleb Williams bad, that's better than 3-14. And then they added Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler to their offensive line and the rookie wide receivers and a second-round edge and Xavier Woods and like a number of different things, plus a new kicker and punter.
Hecker and Sly.
That's true. They did get a new kicker and a new punter.
Hecker and Sly.
I guess kind of the way I look at this, and this feels more pessimistic than maybe it should be, but this kind of reminds me of Bryce Young's first year. And I'm not saying that Ward's going to perform that poorly, but like what's around him, I mean, they kind of improved the offensive line, but then, you've got guys in new positions. We don't know how this is going to turn out yet. And there's no receiver outside of Calvin Ridley that's of note. Mm-hmm. And then we're relying on Tony Pollard. So like this could all work out fine, but there's no like star here. There's no elevating force. There's nothing that makes me think that the pressure is not on Ward. That's
right. He's the elevating force.
Right.
If it's the elevating force is what if he's CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniel? Then that's an elevating force.
Sure.
And that's such a high bar to set for him. I don't think he's up to that code.
Right. It's unlikely. It's possible, but it's unlikely. That's I talk a lot about the range of possibilities, right? I've talked about the Raiders, I think, are a team with a very small range of possibilities, right? Mm-hmm. The younger your quarterback, usually, the wider your range of possibilities. And a rookie number 1 pick is the widest range of possibilities, that it could go really sour or it could be shockingly good.
Yeah, it's just, but like to what Rivers is saying, you look at the other talent around him. It's scaffolding for a 5-12 season.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. You could go back to Jaden Daniels, like, okay, well, we know McLaurin is actually better than his billing. They bring in these Bobby Wagner type guys who are like old veterans. You can kind of, you didn't see the NFC Championship appearance, but you saw the chance of like a breakout happening there. I just don't see it with Tennessee.
I will say from the comments that Houston Streston feels the wide receiver core is underrated.
I disagree.
But I just don't. I mean, I think if one of these 4th-round rookies, I will skip Restrepo for the moment. If one of these 4th-round rookies busts out, and Playmaker liked Ayomanor, by the way. Okay. That could be really cool.
Cheedy at tight end. He's a good
But
one.
neither of them is getting as much discussion as the 4th-round pick in Vegas, Dante Thornton. So, even if you're like, which 4th-round wide receiver is going to break out, you wouldn't probably pick one of these two guys.
Yeah, they're trailing behind, and we got sacrificial X Van Jefferson here. That's what we're going to work with. Then you got Ridley, and then like I've seen people I respect, like Derek Klassen, who's talked about. Oh, I really like Tyler Lockett. He was good last year, even though he's in a small role. I'm like, okay, but also Tyler Lockett's in his mid-30s at this point, slowing down. They didn't make him a focal point of the offense for a reason. And now he comes to Tennessee, and I'm supposed to pretend like he's great. That's a lot for me.
30-something-year-old wide receivers don't suddenly bounce back when they leave their lifelong team and situation to another team. That's usually how it goes.
I feel like the most likely result for the Titans is Ward is fine, but not great. And they go like to 5 or 6 wins, and they have a good enough draft picks that they can build more next year. And then maybe they take maybe 2026, then Ward takes a big step, and then they take a step. And then it feels like we're on the way, but this is not the year it turns around.
I am actually lower on that subjectively. I think that's a good median outcome, though. Like if we had to chart it all out, I feel like that would be right about the midpoint of what could happen. But me personally, I didn't really care for Callahan's scheme last year. I didn't think it was all that well designed. And like, could it turn around? Is Ward going to unlock things? I'm sure, but I'm more thinking more like 4 wins, more like 3 wins again. Like I think it could be pretty low.
Okay, so here's an under for you. Under 5.5 wins at plus 140, Rivers. Would you do it?
I would probably do that, yeah.
It's too cold-hearted for me. And I don't know about – I mean, last year's scheme was Will Levis, like, try not to die. I know they had Rudolph out there for a while too, but it's like, let's spread the field and maybe he can quickly get rid of the ball before he falls over. I don't know. Callahan doesn't impress me, but I can't go off of last year very much.
Listen, he threw 2 really long touchdown passes to Westbrook Akine, and so obviously it worked out for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, Westbrook Akine gets to be in Miami where everybody is happy.
On earth. Oh my God.
All right, that does it for today's show, everybody. Thank you all for listening and watching. I appreciate it. Again, we're here usually on Mondays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. The Monday show will start in a couple of weeks once we get into the season. Thanks to Rivers again for joining us. Thanks to Rivers, obviously, for writing the chapters. If you don't have the FTN Football Almanac 2025 already, you really should. And all the AFC South chapters are written by this man right here.
Please buy it. Please buy it. Please buy it.
Representing the Corpus Christi Hooks.
That's right.
And we will be back next Thursday with the last of our division previews, which is the AFC West. And then after that, we get into actual game previewing.
Ooh.
Very exciting, but we have one division to go. I wonder which team we're going to pick to win the AFC West.
You got that
Raiders, right?
It's the Raiders, yeah.
Broncos sleeper.
Definitely going to be the Raiders. All right, that does it for today. Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to like and review the show. We'll see you next week. FTNFantasy.com. Talk to you later. Bye.